Blizzard drops a bombshell today on Warcraft 3 because there is another patch proving that Warcraft 3 is in fact Blizzard's favorite child. StarCraft 2 doesn't have a new patch today, but Warcraft 3 does. Good. Let's go look at what's new. I have deliberately turned off Warcraft 3 streams that were looking at these changes. I have ignored spoilers from Twitch chat. I don't know anything about this. And in fact, I haven't previewed these changes internally either. I don't know. So let's look at what Blizzard is planning is going to be happening in Warcraft 3 with the balance. Version 2.02, build 22692 PTR patch notes. What is a PTR? It's a public test realm. It's an environment where you can test changes before they go live. This way, users can see if there's anything broken, and then Blizzard can iterate and change how it actually goes live. I will be able to test this later today, and I am gonna be testing this later today. And if you want to see those changes, head over to my other YouTube channel, youtube.com/followgrubby, where we will have gameplay uploads and it'll say PTR in the title. But for now, let's review this here. Fixed an issue that causes the game to hitch every 3 seconds for certain players. Nice. Hopefully this actually works. A lot of people had this issue. I believe it affected people that had an AMD CPU. General, updated various campaign background screens. Lighting. This one is interesting. Reforged environment lighting direction adjusted to match Classic and Classic HD. This one I will like to test and see some side-by-side comparisons. Reforged was very illuminated. Dungeon biome lighting overhauled to better fit the classic lighting. Minor brightness adjustments. Okay, I'm interested in all of these. There were notable differences between Classic, the way the game used to look, Classic HD, a very slight semi-parallel improvement to Classic, if that, but with worse FPS performance, and then the full-blown reforged settings as well. I'm curious how all of this has changed, and I wonder if this affects Classic, actual Classic. Map pool has been updated. Selfishly, I hope it's closer to the W3 Champions map pool of this season, but we'll see. Balance. Okay, here we get down to the nitty-gritty. Let's actually go one change at a time. Sentry Ward Vision reduced from 1600, which is about this big. If this is the full Warcraft 3 game screen, then 1600 is about this big. Wherever my hands would be with stretched out arms. It's quite big. 1000, if I'm an Archmage and I'm on the screen, if my nose is an Archmage and I'm on the Warcraft 3 screen on 2100 zoom, then 1000 range would be about this. This is where a mortar shoots. This is 1000 vision, and that's on both sides, of course. This is, you have to double it because I'm at the center of it. This is mortar range, 1000 range. So basically, Sentry Ward 1000 range is going to be less than how a mortar team can shoot at 1150. That's quite smaller. I will say that Sentry Ward is quite a powerful item that has been nerfed multiple times. I kind of like this. It's easier to find them. You have to be more precise as where you place them, and they don't reveal as much. I think it's a fair nerf. Healing Ward charges reduced from 3 to 2. By the way, one of the most poorly used items in the game. People shit this out like it's nothing. Pum, pum, pum. Whenever it's easy to cancel. They are by far the most powerful outside of combat, because a good enemy will look at them and will cancel them as fast as possible. It gives 4% healing per second to all units around, but it has 5 HP, so it can be single tapped by a single worker to be removed. Regenerating your army's health while creep camping is amazing as Orc. Does this now bring it in line with other drops? Oftentimes Healing Ward is the best thing you could get. I think it's equal to Book of the Dead, Health Stone, Mana Stone, Wand of Cyclone. Wand of Cyclone has also been dropped from 3 to 2 charges. Makes sense. I do always feel like we're missing something when something very powerful gets weakened. If you keep doing that, then eventually everything is weaker, which isn't fun. It might be balanced, it might not be as fun. So, oh, it's 2% health, not 4%, okay. Like, I still miss Tome of Experience, even though it was a very powerful item that was too powerful and too imbalanced. So it is a fun nerf, but maybe it is fair. Let's see how it plays out. Vampiric Potion. Okay. I don't know what this is. Is this a consume that a hero uses where he gets lifesteal for a brief period of time? Let's say 15% lifesteal for 20 seconds or something. Let's see. Vampiric Potion. This has never been in Warcraft 3. Liquipedia, Vampiric Potion. Okay, this is Dota 2 for him. It's not even on Liquipedia, which is how obscure it is. Okay, someone is shedding some light. You get 12 damage, 75% lifesteal, 20 seconds. Okay, that's way too good. I think that's way too good. If you get one auto attack every second, and you have 12 damage, that's 120 damage, sustained damage item. You get 75% lifesteal. Let's say you do 35 damage per hit. You get 250 times 10. You get 25 times 25. Yeah. You get 250 life, do 120 damage. That's crazy. People are discussing whether it's 75 or 25% lifesteal. Okay. I think this is very powerful and too powerful. None of the other level 2 drops are as much of a power boost as this would be. You know what the biggest level 2 consume... by the way, the level 2 consume drop, is that Lightning Shield? Or is it above Lightning Shield? Maybe that's level 1 Lightning Shield. Is this combined together with Greater Healing Potion, Scroll of the Beast? Maybe it's tantamount to Scroll of the Beast. Level 2 item drop. Is there a list somewhere? Not here. Save Orca says it is an item that's equal to Illusion Potion of Replenishment. Yeah, this is way too strong for that. Replenishment is non-combat. Illusion doesn't deal damage. Sentry Ward doesn't deal damage. And Lightning Shield used to be on that list and dealt a lot of damage, and it was extremely problematic to find it so early because you would go in and you would kill workers with it, and it was game ending. And I think this is also very game ending, potentially. I think this is too good and problematic. Maybe as a level 3 drop, because Greater Healing, Greater Mana, Scroll of the Beast are all game ending as well, potentially. So it fits it as a level 3. I don't think it could be as a level 2. Added Rune of Lesser Healing as a level 2 drop. Way too good. Way too good. This is completely out of whack with Potion of Replenishment. Even if it only healed 75 on all nearby units. What is it? A Rune of Lesser Healing is normally something that you cannot carry with you. You pick it up, it gets consumed upon click, and it gives an instant healing scroll effect to all heroes and units around. So if it keeps working that way, it would give a lot of health. Now, how much is it? Rune of Lesser Healing, Warcraft 3 Liquipedia. 60? 100 gold, restores hit points. Yeah, that's insane. A healing scroll is 150. This is 125. You're finding a free healing scroll during the first nighttime? That is insane. Impossibly strong. Heal scroll is a huge commodity in the game. And you can only get it the second daytime, or in other words, the first day break, or in other words, after the first night. This could be found your first creep camp. Very powerful. If it is a rune and it's used in the same way, and it can't be sold, then it cannot be saved to use later. However, it would be weird that all level 2 drops can be picked up and saved and used later, but this wouldn't be able to. How would that play around with Marketplace? Could you buy it from the Marketplace if it's not a drop? If it's a non-consume, like if it's a non-instant consume but you can carry it with you, then that makes it even better. Too good in my opinion, and unbalanceable. Ring of Protection +4 back to 3. I agree with that. Ring of Protection, the way it used to be was we had Ring of Protection +2. This is like during most of Warcraft 3, yeah? ROP +2. We had Circlet +2 to all. We had Claws +6. And we had gloves plus 15% attack speed. And the way that that worked out, this doesn't really give 15% attack speed because it gives 15% attack speed on the base attack speed or the base attack cooldown, as it's called, of a hero. Heroes already have predetermined bonus attack speed from agility. One agi is 2% attack speed. So if a hero has 20 agility, he already has plus 40 attack speed on his base cooldown timing, or BCD as they call it in Warcraft 3, the base attack cooldown. So if he already has 40 and you add 15% to that, well, now he has 55% attack speed on the base. What is the total change? Instead of adding 15 to 100% as you think it would be, coming to 115, you go from 140 to 155%. And what is that change? That's 10.7%. So gloves was actually usually about 10% attack speed. Like actually 10% more damage, to be clear. Claws plus 6, very powerful as well. Circlet was very powerful. And Ring of Protection plus 2 was really not that powerful. So what they did is they removed Circlet, then they downgraded it to plus 1, the Ring of Superiority. And Ring became plus 3. And then it became plus 4. And Claws became plus 4, and then it became plus 5. And Gloves, I think, became plus 18%. But now I think Ring of Protection plus 4 is too good. Because it's very powerful on strength heroes. Like Panda, TC, Mountain King, and it's even really good on Blade, Demon Hunter. And I think people undervalue the power of armor. Because it's not as exciting. And I will say that in games, generally, attack is better than armor. Why? In Warcraft 3, if you get bonus attack speed and attack damage, you can creep faster, you can kill heroes faster, you can kill buildings faster, and you can kill units faster. Attack is cancelled out by enemy armor, but if you get bonus attack damage on your units or hero, and you're attacking something that can't get armor upgrades, like Night Elf Building, Moonwell, or a Kodo Beast, you're outscaling. And that's more important than taking less damage from creeps or taking less damage from towers, which is what armor would do. So attack is better, you can farm faster, and that's exponential growth. But Ring of Protection is still very powerful, and it was a little bit too slow to take damage with 4. I think I like 3, especially now that Circlet is gone. Nonetheless, if it's 3 again, you will once again prefer Claws over Ring, which was even true at Ring plus 4 for the most part. But I do think it was too strong. Okay, next, backpack shop requirement removed. That is very interesting. I like it. Backpack overall is not used much. And the shop requirement made it so that you needed a tier 1 shop. And then you needed upgrade time in your main base. Now you can upgrade, and usually by the time your shop is done, your tier 2 has already started, so you can't upgrade. I think either they could do this, or what they could have done is allow the backpack upgrade to be researched inside the shop, which I actually like more than this. By offloading the upgrade requirement away from the main base into the shop, you still have a shop that signifies this opponent could go for backpack upgrade. Because it's important in RTS games to have signifiers. Something that gives away, hey, are you afraid of Chimera? This Chimera roost is warning you that the opponent might be making Chimera. And without the shop as a prerequisite, there's no longer an indicator that backpack could be coming soon. You put backpack on the shop, the upgrade that is, now it becomes a point of elimination where you can say, well, he doesn't have a shop, so he's not going to have backpack soon. It's good to know. But I don't hate this, and I would love to try and play around with it. Okay, next up. Orb of Darkness will now spawn level 2 skeletons. Ooh, wow. Oh man. Not a lot of maps have Orb of Darkness. I don't think this is needed. Guys, don't confuse this with Orb of Corruption. Orb of Darkness is the drop that drops on level 6 trolls on Twisted Meadows. It's the purple orb that gets sold often because a better orb exists, like Orb of Venom, Orb of Corruption, Orb of Lightning, Orb of Fire. Everyone has their own orbs. And Orb of Darkness is not as good as those. It's not very strong. If you last hit, you will summon a level 1 skeleton, which gives 12 experience, probably has like 160, 180 life, probably deals like 12 to 15 damage, something like that. And it happens on every kill you get. It's pretty cool, but usually people favor more money instead. If you sell the orb, you can make an expansion for that money. So just think about that. I mean, not quite. That's not true. You probably get like 200 gold. You're closer to an expansion. Or you could sell it by a heal scroll. Summon level 2 skeletons is going to give Undead better synergy, where they put it on Death Knight, or not on Lich. He already has Orb of Corruption. And then they can Dark Ritual better. And it's going to make more beefy, more tanky skeletons that I think are bigger as well and don't fit into the gaps between Human Farm Town Hall. It gives more experience. And yet, generally, even though this Dispel magic gives experience and that can be used against the summoner, I do think that overall it's a buff. Like, I can't say just because it gives more XP, it's a nerf. If you don't want to give XP, just sell the orb. So I don't think there's a situation where a player says, no, I'll make level 1 skellies, but not 2. Very rare situation, to be fair. Sometimes people keep level 1 water elemental or wolves so that they can still be used, but they don't give too much XP to the enemy priest or destroyer. Fair enough, sometimes, but not frequently. Overall, it's a buff. I think it's unneeded. Ancient Django of Endurance movement speed increases from 5 to 7.5 and attack from 3 to 3.5%. Oh. Yeah, this got nerfed, right? This used to be 10% This used to be 10% movement speed and 5% attack rate, I believe. And it's been rather boring since it got nerfed. Let's see. Ancient Django of Endurance 2021 changed from 5% 10%. Yeah, 5% 10% to 3% 0.75%. And then it was changed. Speed bonus went down even more from 7.5% to 5%. Okay, so they're thinking of bringing it back up to 7.5%. And the attack speed went from 5 to 3. They're thinking about 3.5%. Okay, I'm okay with that. I like that. Attack rate's still worthless. No, it's pretty good. But because Orc can't use this, this is a direct nerf to Orc a little bit, right? And the same true if any other aura gets buffed. Legion Doom, Horn, the Death Knight aura. Same treatment. They did buff other items as well. These items compete with a +4/+4 item, which gives 8 stats, which is like 1.2 levels. 8 stats is just a little over Circlet. So you have a level 3 perm drop, which is Circlet of Nobility. And then you have a level, whatever this is. Is this 5? Is this a 5 perm drop? 4? That has a 4/4 drop. But it got buffed to a 5/5. So you can get 5 strength, 5 agi, 5 agi, 5 int, 5 int, 5 strength. And then they nerfed the aura items. What about Brilliance? They're not changing the Khadgar's? Khadgar's Pipe of Insight is 0.5 mana per second. Got nerfed as well in 2021. And what is the TC aura actually? Like what numbers are we talking about? Endurance aura for TC is 10, 15, 20. Oh, yeah. It never got nerfed. So... No, it did get nerfed. Didn't this used to be 10, 20, 30? God, it was so good. It was so good, dude. 2023. It used to be 10, 20, 30. Oh my god. And Undead was also 10, 20, 30. Holy. And attack rate 5, 10, 15. So this is what it is right now. So the aura is a lesser version of level 1 TC aura. I'm okay with this. I don't feel too strongly about it. It's not a huge change. Item and aura do not stack, no. The strongest has effect. Militia armor reduced from 4 to 3. W. Defense piercing reduction reduced from 65 reduction to 50. I thought I asked recently because I forgot. Someone said it was 50% already. I guess they were taking only 35% from piercing. Now they're taking 50%. W. Defend cost reduced from 150 100 to 125 75. And research time from 45 to 40. Yeah, I like these changes. But the defend issue is reflecting not about not taking damage. I don't think so. I think the issue is about not taking damage. I don't think the reflect is as big of a deal. For instance, burrows don't take any reflect damage from attacking footmen, but they cannot for the life of them kill footmen. I like these changes. I think it's good. Siphon mana. Yes! Siphon mana range reduced from 6 to 500. Good. Let the Blood Mage risk his position a little bit more. Make it easier to break and not be in range of. But more than that, I feel like they should address leash distance. I wonder if there's a reason not to have break leash to be the same as initialization. So right now it's 600, 800. Start at 600, break at 800. This guarantees a channel. Maybe that's good gameplay design. It's to prevent immediately broken links for a character in motion. You love all the things that are good for Orc? You might be right, Grimwind. You might be right. I like to think of myself as a more neutral arbiter because I want the game to do well, and if one race quits the game, then that's not good for the game, and then that's not good for me too. So I shouldn't want to be that way, but I cannot deny bias, especially since I've been spamming Orc recently. Let's see how biased we are when we get to the other races. Okay, so I do agree with Excalibur saying that that it's good gameplay design, that there is a difference between initialization and breaking distance. So they're keeping it that way and just reducing both by 100. I think that's good. I think this is a great way to address Paladin Rifle. Nerfing Siphon a bit. Slow duration reduced from 60 to 45 seconds. Wow, for Sorceress. How do we like that? Human Sorceress slow. I think it lasts way too long. Fairy Fire lasted too long. Slow and Curse last too long. I think those already got nerfed in duration too, no? Let's see. Curse. Curse from Banshee. I want to see Banshee Curse. Banshee. Banshee changes. Control F. Curse. 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 Curse duration reduced from 2 minutes, 1 minute on heroes, to 1 minute 30 seconds on heroes. It was bonkers, guys. And this change happened recently, about 9 months ago. This was so crazy. Curse now causes 33% mischance, up from 25. Okay, Curse got nerfed. What about Fairy Fire? Druid of Talon. Yeah, it was so much fun, guys, having my Orc units have Fairy Fire for 2 minutes after the fight. 2 minutes. But original Warcraft had some broken timings. What about Witch Doctor? You could put a 10-minute sentry ward. 10 minutes! Chances are that's the rest of the game. Here, what about Fairy Fire? Where is it? Fairy Fire duration decreased from... This is actually recent. This is right after right after everybody... That's so crazy. They changed this after people switched to StarCraft 2. I switched on 2011-01-01 to SE2. Beta came out 2010-01 something. Alright? I wasn't playing Warcraft 3 at this time. I didn't know this happened then. From 2 minutes to 90 seconds. Must have looked at it in passing and be like, oh, interesting, if I ever go back to the game, right? Then in 2018, this was the beginning of Warcraft 3 coming back. Before we knew Reforged is hitting. But during the year that Blizzard held a old school invitational with with Mad Frog, Taker, I think, Insomnia, and me. And then it was also 4 pros. And we were like the ex-pros, the has-beens. And this was right before they announced it. We just thought they're doing a cool Warcraft event. Who knows? Don't know what's happening. Went from 90 to 70 seconds. And that's where it still is. 70-40. That's still pretty damn long, man. Holy crap. Okay. So, slow from 60 to 45. Feels fair. Wait, did they reduce cyclone duration too, by the way? Cyclone duration went from 15 to 10 seconds. Cyclone duration on units to 15. To 15 from 10. Oh, it used to be 30 and then 15. Yeah, 15 is what I always played with. Okay. It's quite long. Slow duration. I think this is fine. Heal range. Oh, that's for priests? Heal range increased from 250 to 350. Huh. So priests can be in a better position. This helps human against undead. I mean, it helps literally in every matchup, by the way. Heal range is insane. Big buff. If human gets some nerfs, then maybe they should also get some buffs. It is a fun change for priests. Priests are very strong. Used in... They're not used versus undead much. They're ubiquitous in Human Mirror. They're very common against Night Elf. Not always, but common. You won't go for them if you're against Warden. Against Warden, you just go tanks, knights, and breakers. But against Demon, you'll definitely see some priests. Human Mirror, like I said, and against Orc, common. I know many of you are meeting Paladin Rifle, but AMMK Rifle Priest is very common. This will be big for it. That's a huge percentage increased range. What is it, 40%? I don't mind change. Up and down. I think it's interesting to play with. Let's see how it is. What does it mean, ubiquitous? Like unmissable, must be a part of it, necessary. I think they're only talking about priest. I know it's written as a blanket statement. I think they're talking about human priest. Ubiquitous means largely present. Oh, not quite required. Okay. Arcane Vault. Requirement. Removed from Dragonhawk and Cloud upgrade. What? Okay. There's almost never a situation where people say, hey, I need Dragonhawks fast, but I don't want to build a shop. It's a problem. So this isn't about making Dragonhawks have a more seamless rush. Dragonhawks are almost never part of any build, including rush. They're a counter unit. But you could say they're not used much in general. They're good against wyverns, yes, but so are other things. Flying machines are generally a better investment against wyverns. They're really broken against wyverns. Despite the existence of bat riders, if you just make 2 to 4 flyings, you win every fight against any number of wyverns. Because the wyverns are forced to deal with the flying or they'll be torn apart. Venom Spears doesn't work on flyings. And they're so cheap that they're barely worth blowing up with bats. So having like a steady flow of like 1 new flying every time beats any number of wyverns. 6, 8, 10. It's ridiculous. So even though hawks are good against wyvern and bat, they mostly don't get used to support rifle caster or caster breaker because there's a better option in flying machines. Hawks mostly get played against Orc when it's mounting Fast Expo into Mass Griffin, and then you support with Hawks to deal with any wyverns or bats. In addition to the armor upgrades and the devotion aura. So it's not really about rushing Hawks against Orc. Human Mirror barely has any Hawks either. You can go Hawks to deal with enemy Griffins. Usually people that go Griffins in Human Mirror will prepare that by going for a Pandaren Brewmaster second. Brewmaster counters flying machines and steam tanks, which are the best counters to Griffins. So then, because flyings are so low HP and Fire Breath wrecks them, if you're against an Archmage Panda guy who's going Griffins, then instead of flyings, you'll probably want to get Hawks. And you will already have shop at that moment. It's not going to be without a shop. So I feel like this is mostly a tiny, non-targeted streamlining buff that makes Hawks infinitesimally more likely to happen. Just because they don't see much play. Just to maybe open up some play that hasn't been considered much. Some kind of trim Hawk rush. A little bit of a placebo buff question mark, right? There will be cases where a shop dies and Hawks are no longer possible for a brief period of time until you rebuild it. So it's kind of like a streamlining buff for Hawk, just to make them a bit better without actually buffing their power. I don't hate it. Other races have received similar treatment, where Totem can be built at tier 2 now instead of tier 3. Walkers were moved from the Lodge to the Totem. And by doing this, you can use a Totem at tier 2 and have a more easy transition to the Tauren, which was such a maligned unit that never got played at all. And they had a streamlining with that. What other streamlining happened? Sacrificial Skull no longer requires a graveyard. There were others. Night Elf... Boneyard no longer needs a Sacrificial Pit. Yep. And now Dragonhawks no longer require Arcane Vault. Archer Hippo no longer needs the Hippogriff upgrade. Invisibility range for Sorceresses up from 300 to 400. That's a fun change. That's very fun. Invis is a fun spell that has good play and counterplay. You can cheese with it. You can do sneaky stuff. I think they are hype for observers to watch. Like for spectators, Invis is always fun. You can save heroes. There's easy counterplay, unlike in StarCraft 2 Heart of the Swarm, where Invis detection was really difficult against Swarmhost Sporecrawler lines. You can just get Dust of Appearance. And you have some other racial tools as well. Yeah, I like this. Next. Orc. Mirror image cooldown increased from 3 to 5 seconds. I am glad I got to play so much Orc recently with mirror image. I have felt that image is kind of busted. It's annoying for opponents to deal with. When spammed, they give experience, yes. Their DPS increase, their confusion, their tankiness, they're cheap now, tiny cooldown. I don't hate this. Mirror image creeping feels strong. I think this is good. Something had to be done about them, in my opinion. Now, do I think Orc is the best race right now? I don't think so. I think the best race right now might be Human. Undead has the best player, together with Fortitude, Happy and Fortitude. But I think it's despite the race. I think Orc might be the weakest at the moment. I said it. Could be Elf as well. But overall, the balance is pretty good between all. But I think if you put them all in the same pile, I think Human is a little stronger than the other races right now. Okay, but let's go on. Having said that, as long as there's plus and minus, give and take, you rub my back, I rub yours, I think this is fine. In context of there's going to be pluses and minuses. I think this is a fair minus because image is very strong by itself. Okay, let's move on. Tauren now have... Ooh. That is exciting. That is very exciting. Let me give you the full context of what this is. Let me first say the sentence. Tauren now have resistant skin by default. What does this mean? Resistant skin is a type of treatment that gets doled out to all heroes in the game and to upgraded mountain giants. What this means is that if you look at the Druid of the Talon, for instance, and you look at Fairy Fire or Cyclone. Let's look at Cyclone. Cyclone. 20 parenthesis 6. Wait, 20? I thought it was 15. Okay, maybe there's a bug? I don't know. Anyway, let's talk about the concept, not the detail. Cyclone. Lasts 20 seconds or 15. If it's on a hero, it's 6 seconds. That parenthesis is where resistant units and heroes stand. Not the parenthesis is where regular units stand. Walker is also resistant by default. Tauren Walker. It also means that the Banshee Possession can no longer be used on Taurens, which is an insanely big change. Possession cannot be used on flying units, heroes, or creeps above level 5, or units with resistant skin. It means that Sorceress Slow, instead of lasting 60 seconds, lasts only 10 on Taurens. Dryad Slow Poison lasts 1 second on heroes, 5 seconds on units. Have you ever seen a Tauren getting attacked by a Dryad and a Naga at the same time? Oh, the unit is gone. He's been dead for a while. I'm still in the previous century. 1 second instead of 5. Huge change. Guys, it affects everything. Wind Rider and Venom Spears. Lasts 1 second on Taurens and heroes. 25 seconds on other units. This is maybe the most egregious difference of unfair treatment of anything. Kodo Devour, guys. How do you counter Taurens? You devour them with Kodos. How do Undead counter? Kill them with Destroyer's Worms, which still works the exact same way, by the way. Or eat them with Possession. Human. Kite them with Clap. Okay. How long does Clap last on heroes and units? 3 seconds on Taurens, 5 seconds on Grunts. I think this is a scary change. I think it is perhaps the biggest bombshell of the patch notes so far. I think it is an interesting and fun change because it sets apart the Tauren by design from the Grunt. The Grunt and the Tauren are the same unit. They have health and they have damage. That's it. One has more health and damage and costs more and comes out later. But a Tyler... You guys keep talking about Tyler. Tyler kind of looks like a Tauren. A Tauren is a Grunt. Now, there's one special thing. Pulverize. There's Pulverize. And that makes him different. But with the amount that Tyrants get... Tyrants? Tyrants. With the amount that Taurens get kited, they don't get that many Pulverize procs, usually. Tyranids. Tyrants. Griffins can't attack Taurens. No. Resistant skin is not magic immune. It is everything I just said. I can show you the Tauren Walker to know exactly what it's going to be. Spirit Walker. Where's the resistant skin? Reduces the duration of negative spells and renders the unit immune to certain spells. It's exactly what I said it is, right? Interesting experiment. Possibly may have to be walked back. Polymorph now lasts 1.5 seconds on Taurens instead of 1 minute. So it just doesn't work anymore. Should this be an upgrade? Should it be a semi-version of? Minor difference. It's an even bigger difference than Venom and Venom Spears. And Venom Spears was 25-to-1 ratio. Right? 25 second or 1. 60 to 1.5 is a 40-to-1 ratio of difference. Crazy. Alright, let's move on. Lightning Orb. Cost reduce. Valid. Totally valid. The best orb in the game. Orb of Corruption. Second best, Orb of Venom. Third best, Lightning Orb. Fourth, Orb of Fire. Always been that way. Sometimes you could say Venom is better than Corruption when it's like a one-man army type of thing. But Corruption better in the average fight. This was expensive, guys. Which one's the best? It's Corruption, Undead Orb, Corruption, over Venom, over Lightning, over Orb of Fire. This has always been the case. You could say sometimes Corruption and Venom are equal. Because Venom used to do 88 damage. Now I think it only does like 50 damage or something. Because it got nerfed. It's a fair dropping cost. Lightning orb damage against summons increased from 150 to 300. Okay, I think that's a good change too. Isn't it 30% chance to proc? I'm sure you do. Not biased at all. Yeah, 30% chance to purge. It got nerfed. Oh, it got nerfed recently. What the hell? Why did they nerf it? 8 August 2018, the darkest day of my life. Orb of Lightning chance to purge decreased from 35 to 30%. What? Damn. In the game description, it says it slows for 3 seconds. However, the actual slow duration is 15 seconds for units and 5 seconds for torrents. It also prevents movement for 3 seconds altogether for units and 1 second for heroes. Also, it prevents Staff of Preservation for a short period of time. For like 3 seconds. It's pretty crazy actually. The Orb of Lightning is great to catch units and prevent them from running away. When you use Purge, movement speed will be reduced to 150. Okay. I think this is a good change. But maybe both of these is too much? Envenomed Spears damage per tick reduced from 4 to 3. I think that's fair. Wyvern Venom is insanely high. But it is a trash unit in general. Once you get Venom, there's some pretty OP things that sometimes happen with it, but it's almost never a center point of strategy. This nerf barely hurts Orc, because any Orc that makes Wyverns and goes tier 3 with them is usually an idiot, or like desperate. So the nerf might actually be a buff, because it will disincentivize people from playing Wyverns, because it got nerfed, and that means you're actually winning more games. However, there are niche cases, especially right now the Orc versus Undead meta, where you're fast stacking and getting Wyverns and going tier 3 and getting Venom. And the Venom is very strong there. But what about Wyverns in Orc Mirror, or against Human, or against Night Elf, where they're completely trash? Makes them even worse. No buff for that. Sag. Windrider. Oh, there we go. Ah. This was something they played with before. Windrider level reduced from 4 to 3. That means, basically, note. Okay, nice. It basically means level 4 is 85 XP. Level 3 is 60 XP. Usually, supply of a unit matches the level of a unit, which is hidden in-game. So there's a slight lack of clarity. There are already exceptions. This is almost always true, but there are some exceptions. For instance, the Siege engine had an exception where he gave 60 XP, but he was 4 population. Or something like that. There have been a lot of iterations of the Siege engine. Let's see actually what he's at right now. Siege engine is 4 population. He's level 4. So it's actually equal again. But they played around with it recently, no? Experience bounty increased from 60 to 85. 2020. Yeah. Recently they buffed his output. Also, he used to be 3 food. So you see how it's desynced? They brought him from 3 to 4 food without making the XP to match. So for 2 years, Siege Engine supply did not match its hidden creep level. So now they're thinking about Wind Riders and giving them the same treatment, where their supply remains at 4, but their level is 3. 60 XP, yet 4 food. That's okay, that can happen sometimes. A nerf to deal with the Orc Undead matchup. This looks like a targeted nerf for Orc Undead, where Wyverns is meta at the moment. And a targeted buff to deal with the other matchups. However, this will also affect Orc Undead. And may also hurt Undead in that matchup. I don't know how this is going to play out. I haven't played at top level in a bit. And I haven't watched as many Happy Lin games. Because I kind of got bored of watching it. Sentry Stasis and Healing Wards are now magic immune. Wow! That's a great change. That's amazing. Witch Doctors have been garbage. That is huge. You, in one-on-one, you almost literally cannot use witch doctors. I think there's a 1 in 1,000 games where you add a 24-minute witch doctor. Like, I've seen... The last time I saw a serious master witch doctor was maybe in 2010 with Fly 100%, or maybe like 2009. He was like on a game on Echo Isles, version 1. And it was both have 2 bases, they're turtling, it was Orc versus Undead. I think it was Happy. And then he started adding like Bloodlust and Healing Ward, because both were completely entrenched positions. I remember that. Yeah, it wasn't that long ago. So outside of like the 1 out of 1,000, doctors don't get used in one-on-one. They're very good in team play, but they don't get used in one-on-one at all, because the opportunity cost of getting them means you are going to get steamrolled, because their raw HP and damage does not justify their inclusion. And in like sub 70 pop fights, it's too easy to dispel stasis. And also stasis does not buy enough time, and sentry does not buy enough time in order to get to heal ward, which is the best. So you cannot make a doctor, put down a sentry, and expect to win the game with it, because that's an investment you made at tier 2 at 5, 6, 7 minutes, and now that needs to do something for you. A shaman removes entangle, it removes hex, it removes force of nature, treant, beastmaster summon. A raider immediately comes out with ensnare after the upgrade. A doctor comes out with a sentry. Okay, cool, you got vision. That's like going Farseer with Farsight second. You can't win the game with vision. People already are good at scouting. You can't rely on the sentry to do it for you, and then you don't have the power to capitalize on it. So, doctors never really get played. Even if you made the investment and you somehow had a creative way to reduce risk, where you can get away with getting Master Witch Doctor. Okay, cool. You got 5 grunts. You got 3-4 Witch Doctor with Master Training. You now have 3 to 5 stasis and 1 to 2 heal wards. You're against 7 bears, 2 dryads. Doctors have like 11 to 13 magic damage. Dryads or wisps dispel the heal ward stasis. You're cooked. It's gone. They don't need to get out of position for it. They just bring a couple of wisp, abolish, it's gone. That's the best case scenario, where you get rolled by a superior army, right? And by the way, nobody said they should be allowed to be rushed and that it should be part of an integral build. Lots of races have units that can't be used this way. Druids of the Talent can't be used in most matchups, which is also... Actually, that's not true anymore. They get used against Undead now, don't they? Because they can counter destroyers. And they've been used a lot against Orc. Could still be used against Orc. But yeah, Doctors get countered by Dispel, but they get countered even bigger by things like Spellbreaker. Control Magic takes all these things away and steals it and gives it to the human. Same with Sentry Wards, right? Fairy Dragon, Destroyers, they all poop on it. But this would mean that Destroyers can no longer use Devour Magic to remove. You would have to target fire it. Okay, I like this a lot because we could finally see more Witch Doctor, but I think there's a big problem. If this is the only change to Witch Doctor without any mitigation, I think that's a problem. Let's talk about how much health these spells have. If this goes through and they're no longer dispellable, 200 health is too much for a Sentry Ward. 100 health might be too much for a Stasis Ward. And because they're magic immune, you can't even target fire them at all anymore. Not just with Devour Magic, Destroyers can't hit them at all anymore if they're magic immune. With their auto attack, it means Doctors, Priests, and Sorceresses can't hit Stasis Ward anymore. So with like half of the lineup of units disappearing from being able to attack the these wards, and now they cannot be dispelled, I think Sentry should be maybe 100. Stasis might have to be 75 to 50. And Healing Ward, well, it's already 5, so that's fine. Nerf it to 4? No, that's too much. By the way, I don't think there's a unit that doesn't one-shot them, so you could nerf it to 4, it doesn't matter. But I do think this has a lot of potential to bring the Doctor back. But maybe they should have less health, the wards. Healing ward duration from 30 to 25. Okay, so they're going in another direction where they do some nerf. By the way, this is fine and fair because they already buffed healing ward mana cost recently. Why is it not listed here? I think they miss it. Yeah, they forgot to update it to the version history. If anyone is watching with Liquipedia editing rights, can you add, please, when it got nerfed from 200 to 150? I mean, I should say buffed. Scroll right. What do you mean? No. I mean, I can see everything. You guys can't. But yeah, it's not there. So it used to be 200 mana. Now it's 150. Only makes sense that the duration will be shorter. Could change. Could even be 20. I don't care. Great Hall build time reduced from 140 to 125. I once Balance suggested for this. Maybe half a year to a year ago. I don't know exactly when. I'm not sure it's still correct. That sounds potentially problematic. Let's see. Great Hall got buffed recently, 19 January, 2 years ago, from 150 to 140. The effects will be large. Let's talk about where a tier 2 Great Hall can be played outside of Tiny Great Hall. It could be played against Undead, has been in the past, but I can't tell you how many games Happy or someone would cancel the Great Hall at 90% progress. This is more than a 10% buff. So 90% is when it's done, actually. So that's not going to work anymore. Basically, let me try to give you the maths on the improvement that this offers. 15 seconds earlier finish means you could mine from it 15 seconds earlier. That means you'll mine from it for 15 seconds, right? How much do you get per second from a mine? 10. 15 times 10, 150. So you get 150 gold more from it. The return on investment is faster. For any game where a Great Hall expansion happens, it's like giving 150 gold to the orc. Even if that happened only once, it will be very strong. But it will happen every time you do a Great Hall. Not just the first expo, but the re-expo or the third base. Okay, it's better than that. It's better than 150 gold. Everything can be expressed in gold in Warcraft 3, and it should be in order to understand the value. It's better than this, because there's a percentage of time where the Great Hall gets cancelled, and there's a percentage of time where it doesn't. Whatever that percentage is, whatever the telemetry says, it will now happen less frequently. And that has a gold value too. On average, expected value over the course of all the games that ever get played. Whatever that value is, I can't say, but that's worth extra gold as well. It could be 17, it could be 77, I don't know what it is. So I'm just going to very conservatively say that this is a 200 gold buff to the Great Hall. And it will, and even more than that, it modifies strategical variety, versatility, and possibility. Expansion plays are possible, timing-wise, that otherwise wouldn't have been. It's strong. And the earliest that this could benefit you, for a tier 1 expansion, is 5 minutes, roughly. Could be 4.5. But the more standard tier 2 expansion that an orc might do against a human, like 5 minute 30, 6 minutes, that means you will benefit 15 seconds earlier and you'll start to reap those benefits roughly at the 8-minute mark. 150 gold donation at the 8-minute mark. Not bad. Not bad at all. Don't need tier 3 as much. Tier 3 remains just as good as it was. The Tiny Great Hall, this one gets better. I do feel like this has... oh, by the way, this will buff Orc against Pala Rifle, where you will do a tier 1 expansion. Doesn't have to be TC first, by the way. The thing that Happy showed with TC first, Happy introduced multiple concepts to deal with Pala Rifle. Not all of them need to be used together. That's one mistake a lot of people make. They see like a new concept. They see Happy goes TC first, 2 Rax Grunts, and Tier 1 Expo to counter Pala Rifle. Which of these can be done after you establish that Pala Rifle is happening? These two. This is a premeditated decision. And these two can be reactive. So yeah, Happy played against Lemes on Concealed Hill, which had an extra benefit of Healing Fountain. And also Lemes has 100% Pala Rifle play rate. So he had two guarantees extra help that do not normally come into play. That's not true on non-Concealed Hill maps, and you're not always against someone where you know they're going to do Pala. So for the average ladder player, when you don't know who you're up against, you cannot make this decision in good conscience because TC first loses to Archmage. However, you can reactively do a Tier 1 Expo on 1 Rax and then transition to 2 Rax. And this now got 200 gold better. Just about. And you can do that with Farseer first. It's okay. It's okay. How is Orc doing right now? I don't know. But all I will say, I cannot see where all the pieces will end, but this is a strong buff. Overall, if we look at the buffs nerfed so far, human nerf, nerf, buff, buff, nerf, 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 buff, buff, buff. So it sounds pretty even, but if we look at the biggest changes, it's probably Siphon, Heal, Militia, and Defend. Those are the biggest. Siphon nerf, Heal buff, Militia and Defend nerf. Human Tier 1 gets weaker if you're playing Archmage, but Tier 2 stronger. How about Orc? Nerf on Mirror Image, Tauren buff, Orc buff, Venom nerf, Wyvern buff, Doctor buff, Doctor nerf, Great Hole buff. Overall, I would say Orc gains in power fairly substantially. I don't know how to express it in percentages. I'm not even sure it makes sense. Like if I said 3%, do you understand it the same way that I would? Or are you right? Or am I right? Who's wrong? I don't know. You can't really talk about percentages. Oh, you could talk about how balance is expected to switch. I think this is at least a 1% buff, maybe 2% in terms of balance. Like let's say if Orc was 48 versus 52, it could go like 49 or 50. But even that, I'm not sure it makes sense because the way that ladders... I'm ranting here, I know. But it's just the way that ladders work. After MMR establishes itself, people that play strong things will meet people that are technically worse than them. That are technically better than them, but the first player plays something strong. And so win rates normalize as well. So ladders have a way of making all win rates really close to 50%. And the only way that imbalances can exist is if you always beat the human and always lose to the Orc. That's how you stay at your MMR. You've got an imbalance matchup in your favor and against you. But yeah, anyways, let's just not try to predict too much. But yeah, Orc goes up a bit, and I think Human goes down a bit, but also up a bit. Overall, Orc benefits, and Human a little bit less. Okay, next, Night Elf. Nature's Blessing Lumbercast from 200 to 175. Not looking at balance, not looking at how this is going to change certain gameplay. I have always felt Nature's Blessing is very expensive, lumber-wise. So purely by itself, without knowing if Elf should get buffed or nerfed based on the current game state, which I'm not even confident about. If you're confident about it, then I commend you for your confidence. But I have always felt this is expensive. Annie Fuchsia asked, does Warcraft 3 normally get balance patches? I thought game didn't get changed for years. Haven't I told you, Annie? The game gets changed recently. Very frequently. We are Blizzard's favorite stepchild. We get all the love. StarCraft 2 doesn't get changes. SC1 doesn't. Warcraft 3 gets changes all the time. HOTS as well. Warcraft 3 and HOTS are Blizzard's biggest games. Lots of patches. No, but for real, ever since 2 years ago, there have been like patch changes every 3 to 6 months. Well, let's say every 6 months or so on average. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Okay, Nature's Blessing. I don't hate this. I don't hate this. Next up. I remember you being excited about one recently big change. Good point. Yeah, there you go. Hunter's Hall lumber cost reduced from 100 to 80. Wow. Wowie. Wowie wowie. Is that a good change or not? First, without giving value judgment, let's talk about the ramifications. In a standard gameplay plan of Demon Hunter, 5 archers into tier 2, second hero, Hunter's Hole, and double Ancient of Lore for some dryads and bears. The bread and butter strategy that gets used everywhere. Now, Night Elf saves 20 lumber. Interesting. 20 lumber saved. Okay. That's similar treatment what the blacksmith got. You all remember the recent blacksmith change? The blacksmith changed 2 years ago. Has it really been 2 years? Holy shit. Blacksmith lumber cost reduced from 60 to 40. So they're basically giving a similar change. Okay. The reason that got done, I think, and the reason this is being considered, is because to add strategical diversity and streamlining. I think that's the philosophy behind it. Will this lead to strategical diversity? Okay, let's talk about separate units. If you're not going any unit except Archer, you're now more likely to get a Hunter's Hole just for upgrades. Ultravision and Wellspring. If you want to get some Huntress, but not full commit, this is more of an okay segue into some hunts. If you're just doing a regular lore build, this is a 20 lumber save. It will empower... Ah, spoilers! It will empower Bottom Hunt Opener, Demon Hunt Opener, Keeper Hunt. All of which have become really, really rare. Even the feared Keeper Archer into Mass Hunters Tier 1 Expo has become more rare against Orc. I'm not even sure why, actually. Why do Night Elves not play Keeper, Alchemist, Mass Tier 1 anymore with expansion? Is it because Mirror Image has become more popular and therefore Night Elves feel that they need to get Dryads to dispel the images, otherwise you're just killing images forever? Is it because Image are now very multifaceted, can be used to dispel Acid Bomb and Entangle, and do all the other things that it does, including making a problem for Night Elf where they don't have Abolish? I think that's why. Okay, so yeah, I'm not sure. This to me feels like not a targeted buff to encourage certain playstyles, even though it did have that effect with rifles, with Blacksmith. Rifle Paladin is better than ever, partially because of Blood Mage buffs, partially because of this, partially because of Rifle buff. So we may see more Hunters-based builds again. I think it is okay to have Hunters-based builds come back in the meta. Yo, calm down, what the hell? I think it's okay to have them come back in the meta. Part of the reason Night Elf was really oppressive in Tier 1 previously is because Ultravision was Tier 1. And I think that's a kick-ass nerf that Ultravision got. Ultravision was Tier 1, and now it's Tier 2 requirement. It was so OP that 3.5 minutes into the game, a Night Elf would literally see more than double than what you saw, so that they could perfectly plan every creep jack against every race. This makes Wisp Harass to debilitate the Night Elf lumber economy slightly less effective than before. Just a bit. Not that much, but just a bit. Overall, I mostly see these two as a blanket Night Elf buff to a race that might need it, if that's the philosophy. I believe that the best Night Elf players have retired. Remind, Soju, and Moon have historically been the best Night Elves. And Moon, he's old, and he's got 4 children. Remind, mostly retired. Shy, Soccer, Soju, retired. Right? Who didn't retire? Which of the best other race players didn't retire? Happy? Lin? Focus? 120. 120 is new, actually. He's a new addition to the scene. But most of the top elves retired. So, I don't think Elf is weak right now. I think its greatest players have taken a step back. But if they are, this would help with it. Okay, move on. Moonstone, duration increased from 30 to 45. Interesting. Bringing back the night? Huh. That's long. That's a big buff. That's more mana regeneration. Let's take a look at Moonwells. I think it's 2 words. Moonwells regenerate how much at night? Where do we see the regeneration rate? Mana regen 1.45. Does that mean 1.45 per second? And then Wellspring brings it up another 0.42. Okay, so 15 seconds means, quick maths, 22 extra mana. That's 22 mana per Moonwell, which is 44 health, or 11 mana on a hero. Moon is old, he's younger than Grubby. Nah, we're both 1986. We're not counting months here. So if you have 4 Moonwells, which is a common number, and you Moonstone, you get 22 times 4, 88, right? You get 88 bonus juice. 22, yeah. With 4 Moonwells, you get 88 bonus juice, which is 176 bonus health. Plus natural regen? Oh, wait. Wait, what? No, there's no natural regen in the day. There's none. Night Elf units also more HP regen at night. Oh, you're talking about the Night Elf HP regeneration at night in general. Yeah, that's true. That affects every single unit as well. Night Elf regen at night is twice as fast for Elf units as Orc human normally have. I don't know how much it is. How many health per second? It's probably like 0.75 health per second. Orc probably has 0.375 health per second or something. Okay, I think it's an interesting buff to a pretty cheap item, to be fair. 50 gold. Since when is that a thing? Since game design. So basically, the way that regen works, undead unit off blight, 0. Only regens as a hero, like only regens if you're a hero or under effect of unholy aura, obviously. Undead unit on blight, 4. Night Elf day, 0. Again, you only heal if you're a hero. Night Elf night, 2. Orc human always, 1. So these are the values and this is how it's balanced. Unhoil. Undead on blight is 2, not 4. Really? I always thought Undead on blight is twice as good as Night Elf. No. I'm talking about the relative values. Like blight is twice as good as night. If you're saying this is 2, this is 1, this is half, sure, I'm fine. I'm fine with that. The way I'm talking about the relative rates. That's why I have the double type 4x. Yeah, but it's not 4x because you can't x 0. You can't multiply with 0. Sure you can. Okay, Teriology. Oh, you cannot divide with 0. Oh fuck, yeah, you're right. Okay, let's move on. You little nerds. Ultravision research time. It would still be incorrect though if you multiplied by 0. Ultravision research time reduced from 45 to 30. I think that's fair considering that Night Elf no longer gets to have it at tier 1. Great change. Genius change, actually. It's genius. Orb of Venom damage per tick reduced from 9 to 8. Great change. It's too much damage. Let Night Elf make 1 anti-air unit when dealing with 10 Griffins, Hawks, Wyverns, Destroyers, instead of just relying on Hemandantir to kill everything. You know that there's a problem when a race is buying Orb on everyone, even on Naga and Potom, who have their own Orb effects. They even pick skill points in it, but they still prefer the Orb. That's how freaking strong it is. Like, have you ever seen someone with 3 Orbs of Lightning? No. 3 Orb of Corruption? No. Orb of Fire? No. No. Bam! Orb of Venom. But then buff Night of Anti-Air. Night of Anti-Air is insane, bro. What do you mean? They have so many. Archer, Hippo, Talon, Demon Hunter. Demon Hunter is the best, actually. Oh, and some other great Night Elf heroes are fantastic against air. Pandaren Brewmaster, Goblin Alchemist. Mana burn range. Yes! I almost said FU Illidan again. Oh, I was very close. But I gotta remain impartial. Gotta remain objective. Yeah, this is fair. This is good. Hell, I'll give up all this just to get this. Anyway. Mana burn range reduced from 300 to 250. Mountain Giant food cost reduced from 7 to 6. Okay. Can I real talk here? I think Mountain Giant Taunt is a fundamentally flawed ability. It relies on people being a complete noob. I think Mountain Giant Taunt was great in 2003. So what does Mountain Giant Taunt do? MG Taunt. I think it's on a 16-second CD. Erase. Command Q for all units around. And issue one attack command on the MG. That's what it does. So this is very good on people without control groups. It's very good on people from 2003. And it's very good against people that have 54 APM. But it's very bad against people with control groups, 100 APM, and eyes to see what's happening. They would just supersede this command again and give any new A-move command to reset aggro. So it's nothing like Taunt in World of Warcraft or a MOBA. It just issues a command. There's no grace period during which it has to keep happening. Right? Like sleep, for instance. Sleep can be circumvented by issuing an attack on the unit that's sleeping by yourself, on yourself. However, there is a moment of invulnerability where you cannot interrupt it. So essentially, sleep is a stasis or a stun. The invulnerability duration is 2 seconds. You will even miss damage on that target. They're actually invulnerable and uncontrollable, unwake-upable for 2 seconds. And then the rest of it, this is all just bonus. If it's unattended, it forces a command. If Taunt doesn't have a forced moment of focus fire, then it's not really a Taunt at high level. The only reason MG became very irritating and OP is because they introduced a change recently that made their Taunt pulsate in 2 waves. The first one when you click it, and a second time after. So if you go over here, where's the second? 2018, 8 August. Taunt now activates a second time after 3 seconds. Cooldown went to 16. Supply was 6 temporarily, and their gold cost was 350. So suddenly you had the gold and the supply justification to get them, and you had Taunt every time you click, and 3 seconds later. The cooldown is 16, but if you had 5 mountain giants, you could layer it very interestingly. You could layer it like this. Second 1, you have, well, second 0, it's 0, 3. The next one is 1, 4. The next one is 2, 5. Next one is 3, 6. And the next one is 4, 7. So what you get is you get a taunt at 0, 1, 2, 3, 3 again, right? 4, 4, 5, 6, 7. Layer, and then you have nothing for 9 seconds. That's if you have 5 MG. Now you could structure it a little better where you don't do it every second, but you do it in sets of 3, for instance. So if you would do it like this, for instance, every 6 seconds you do 3. You get 6, 9, and you get 7 and 10. So now you would have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10. And then 6 seconds, nothing. Already more dangerous. So basically, when people got to like 6 mountain giants, you have, and you do it well, there was only a 2 or 3 second period with no fuckery. So what was happening is that, does it cancel and reset cancel attacks? Yes. So mid-swing, it actually did an animation cancel mid-swing. So the problem is, when there were mountain giants and dryads, the Tauren, already with a slow swing, trying to counter mountain giant with his normal attack damage against medium armor, He'll be mid-swing, taunt happens, he stops and targets another, sometimes tripping over his friends to try and get there. So they body block, they move back. You just told them all to attack, and they all start tripping over each other. So the bigger the mountain giant group was, the more debilitating this became. Because if you have 180 APM, 250 APM, you could easily circumvent 1, 2, or 3 mountain giants. Plus, they have to press a taunt every time you do a superseding command. But here suddenly, it made the APM spam that the defender had to do against taunt twice as frequent as the taunt pressure, because you had that bonus 3rd second later taunt that they implemented. So then recently they removed it in 14 April 2021 and then gave some other changes. Taunt is now 14 seconds again. And they made hardened skinless good, which was also broken strong, but they gave extra armor to the unupgraded MG. Sadly though, MG has not seen almost any play recently. And part of the problem is it is an ignorable unit. It does decent damage. You know, it's decent, 28 to 40. But for a 7 population, 400 plus gold unit, 350 actually still. For a 7 pop 350 gold unit, you want a little bit more than this. Yeah, it has a large health pool and it has good armor and stuff. But the taunt sucks. It doesn't do enough because people can just circumvent it. So at high level, it's bad. Very nice in 4 and 4 though, and nice against newbies as well. So how should taunt change, if at all? Should it be like Axe in Dota 2? Or like Sleep from Dreadlord, where the taunt is temporarily forced? Risky play, because such abilities are normally reserved for heroes, not units. Healing Mountain Giants is also hard. Yep, healing Mountain Giants is hard because they have such a large health pool, they will take all the Moonwell juice. And unless you combine them with Bears, which is a double tier 3 investment, both that need double upgrade to be good, you're not going to be able to rejuvenate them. So they're just kind of this weird unit that's difficult to balance. Okay, that's my thoughts on Mountain Giant. Now let's talk about the balance change. Going from 7 to 6, I think it's fine. Since they aren't being used much now, I think it's a fine buff. It's a return to part of the form of the previous buffs. I don't think it's going to break them. In fact, we may still not see almost any of them. So, yeah, good change. Let's MG eat trees. Yeah, let's make MG eat trees. And let's invent a type of plastic that you can drink out of a glass or bottle with, without having to raise the bottle or glass to your mouth. It could be like a funnel shaped, you could call it a straw. You could drink out of a glass, yeah, like a straw. No, it's a joke, guys. Mountain giants can already eat trees. Someone said let them eat trees. They already kill trees. Anyways, bad joke. I think he meant eat. Now that I think about it, I think he meant eat trees to heal, like ancients. But they're not a tree, though. Eat to regen. Yeah, I think he meant eat to regen. But for healing, yeah. All right. Anyway, let's go on. Undead. Wand of Negation charges. Increased from 2 to 4. Wowzers. Okay. How much does Wand of Negation get used? I forgot to use them on my Undead journey. But I'm not an Undead main. How much does Happy use them? How much does anyone use them? Nobody? I thought that this item was potentially going to be broken. Salt from the Tomb of Relics requires Halls of the Dead, casts 150 and has 2 charges of Dispel. That does how much damage? 200 and removes magical effects. Maybe it's too expensive. It's 150 gold. Maybe it's too expensive. It could be 100. Instead they're saying 4 charges. Can I share a conspiracy with you guys? A conspiracy theory? My conspiracy theory is they're looking to settle at 3, which feels balanced. They're doing 4 so that we test it more. This is a testing environment, rubber band change. It's going to end up at 3. That's my guess. 4 feels too strong. 3 is odd though. Why is 3 odd for an item that's 150 gold? That's 50 per. Feels perfect. Oops. Okay, let's go on. Spoilers. 3 is an odd number. Oh, nice one, chat. Very nice. Yes, 3 is an odd number. That is correct. Okay, move on. Ritual Dagger. Very nice chat. Klappa. Ritual Dagger cast reduced from 100 to 75, but charges... What? Charges reduced from 2 to 1. Ritual Dagger healing increased from 175 to 200. What? Is this a nerf or a buff? It's a buff. It's a nerf. It's a nerf. I feel like Dagger has been very useful. I use it a lot. This is a nerf. The total amount of healing was 350. Now it'll be 200. That's a nerf. You're losing 3 out of 7 parts of its healing number. The cost goes down 25 out of 100 parts, 1 out of 4. And the charges goes down from 2 to 1. It's a big nerf. It's a big nerf, actually. Frost Nova range reduced from 800 to 700. Wow. Wow. It's true, this spell has bullshit range. Wait, but is it all nerfs just for Happy? I think Undead shouldn't be nerfed, actually. Who except Happy and 120 are doing anything? Happy 120 Labyrinth. Undead is the least played race on W3 Champions. I don't know if it's because they're hardest, weakest, or have the poorest atmosphere. Gloomy. Gloomy and dead. Soda? Yeah, but I thought only depressed people play Undead. But then Soda plays it. Oh. This feels like an anti-happy patch? Yeah. Frost Nova range from 800 to 700. Burrow research time reduced from 45 to 35 seconds. Okay, Fiend buff. Anti-magic shield blocks 300 instead of 420. This is how it used to be, right? Oh my god, this had so many changes. AMS, let's take a look at it. So many changes. Anti-magic shell has been redesigned. The spell now... This is in 2003. The spell now absorbs the first 350 points of spell or magic damage dealt to the target, but does not grant magic immunity like it did in Reign of Chaos. It can... Note that spells absorbed by AMS can still deal secondary effects like stun, paralysis or mana drain. The cost of AMS has been rebalanced to 150. AMS now costs 100. Blocks 300. AMS now allows self-targeting. AMS now costs 75 instead of 100. Still very recent, 2004. I was a spring chicken. Banshee attack range increased to 600 from 500. 2005, Banshee build time. 2023, anti-magic shell's spell damage barrier increased from 300 to 420. And AMS can now receive the same summon magic damage inflicted by Dispel, Purge, Abolish. Yeah, this was a crazy change. I feel like the biggest influencees by this are Undead Human and Undead Undead. I guess Undead Night Elf as well. Undead Orc a little bit as well. AMS is no longer dispellable by just Devour. This is one of those crazy changes that I didn't think Blizzard would ever do. These are like... Basically, this is one of the first racial-only changes. Versus Human and Undead and Night Elf, it's like this. Versus Orc, it's like that. I always thought Blizzard didn't want to do this. AMS is no longer dispellable by Devour. But it was needed for Undead Mirror matchup, which was stupid. I think the most aware of this was maybe like Back to Warcraft. They're the only ones that have to watch Undead Mirror, Back to Warcraft casters. Everyone else doesn't need to watch it and therefore doesn't. But they're forced to watch. So I feel like this was for their sanity. AMS... So I cannot comment on this. It's okay to say when I don't know, right? I don't know whether this is a good or bad change. This feels like Undead nerf for going up against Human, mostly. Nerubian Tower cooldown reduced from 1.3 to 1. Okay, so the slow tower can attack faster again. What was it? I feel like that nerf was fair, actually. When I play Undead, in the previous attack speed, I used Nerubian to slow 5-6 riflemen at the same time. By constantly switching target, you could reduce the movement and attack speed for 5 to 6 units, which was insane. Just keep going tap 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 tap. It was so crazy. Because how long is the slow effect? 5 seconds. What was their attack timer? 1. Okay, I guess 6 is an exaggeration. 5. 4 to 5. Not 5 to 6. 4 to 5 units. So with the 1.3, what it did is it brought it to 3 to 4. 3 for Tauren. Yeah, 3 for Tauren. So it got buffed again. Cooldown goes from 1.3 to 1 on the PTR. So they're reverting the nerf of attack speed on the Nerubian. It could still be 6 if you consider the 6 rifleman's attack speed. Yeah, maybe. This is a return to form. It's not just a buff, Helios Fanic, but I think this is too good. I think what are the best towers in the game? Arcane Tower and Nerubian. Okay, by far, right? By far the best. It's insane. Slow and mana burn. However, you cannot just say they're the best, therefore they should be nerfed. How is it in context of everything else? How valuable is one Nerubian? How likely are people to make multiple? What is the effect of making one? And then the effect on someone trying to attack? What are the consequences? I feel like Nerubian single target barely gets changed. There's a damage change, sure. But the damage was barely a part of it. It's the multi-targeting at high level that this enabled. That was most empowering about such a high attack speed. And returning to what it was, I think is too much. Maybe it should be 1.1, 1.2? Did you say Nerub mana burn? No, Arcane Tower mana burn. Web is now available on tier 1. Okay, ignore the typo for a bit. Let's focus on what really matters. Typos are forgotten. Game changes really matters. Web is now available on tier 1. What? Can a useless change? What do you mean useless? This is one of the biggest changes of the patch. Does this matter? No one has era tier 1. It's not the fiend that flies, it's people that fly against the undead. I can't believe you guys are saying that this doesn't matter. This is one of the biggest changes in the patch. Let me explain. Recently, Haunted Goldmine. Okay, recently Undead got like 6 buffs to fast expansion. 2018 8 August, Blight Radius Reduction means gold mines sneak by your radar more easily. Cost reduction. There was a Necropolis cost reduction. Acolytes got more health. Acolytes got more regen. Acolytes got more move speed. Sacrificial Skull no longer needs Graveyard. There were like 6 changes at the same time that allowed for fast expo. Now, understand this. From the year 2003 of TFT's inauguration until 2018, Tier 1 expansion for Undead was a meme. Nobody did it, and rightly so. The cost was too large. You couldn't tower up until the Necropolis or Goldmine finished because you couldn't afford making a graveyard as part of your opening build, because that's minus 225 gold that can now not be put towards a seamless expansion. It was too easy for everyone to come and cancel it. The cost was just too high. With the 6 buffs, and with our rather stubborn top Undead Happy finally following suit, we finally see the best player of the game, the best Undead of the game, Happy, starting to expand. And by now it's ubiquitous, it's everywhere. He's expanding in every matchup, everyone is doing. Before Happy switched, in between 2018 to 2022, all the lesser Undeads with worse APM, worse micro, worse game knowledge, worse MMR, people like me, people like Xlord, people like Hazuops or Edo Boy or Ente, everybody except Happy is fast expanding. Everybody is fast expanding because it's a reliable way to leverage the new buffs and tools. Happy was slow and stubborn. He was very practiced with his one-base builds. However, once Happy followed, it's finally justified, it's vindicated. Yes, this is a real good build. Other races, other players struggle at dealing with it. Now Tier 1 is a fact, and this is the history that I've given you, how Tier 1 Expo for Undead is now a fact. Everybody else already knew it, but once Happy did it, it was finally fully entrenched in the zeitgeist of the race. So what does that mean? A Tier 1 expansion puts down a gold mine anywhere between the 3-minute to the 4-minute 20 mark, protected by an early Nerubian tower. The necropolis in the main base will produce 4 additional acolytes once it looks like the gold mine is going to finish. This doesn't have to happen at the same time the gold mine gets planted down, but soon after. Acolytes take 15 seconds. A gold mine takes 105 seconds. That means that you can make them in a minute. So if the gold mine gets to 40, or let's say 20 seconds of build time, it's been built for 20, 30, 40 seconds, you can make 4 acolytes. They go to the expansion, they saturate it, and then anytime you have enough gold and lumber, you can go to tier 2. This is probably going to be around the 5-minute mark. Could be 4:30, could be 5 minutes, could be 5:30 or 6 minutes. You get to tier 2 when? Well, let's say 7, 8 minutes. That's when your web can start. When can an orc get wyverns? 5 minutes. So there was this significant period of 3-4 minutes where the undead cannot possibly have web, and fiends don't shoot up, neither do ghouls, only towers do. Cryptlord doesn't shoot up, Death Knight can only coil. If it happens to be a lich, Nova and can shoot up, but mostly couldn't deal with. So, web available in tier 1 bridges a 3 to 4 minute gap where an undead has all the money in the world, he has to protect 2 bases, but the only thing he can do it with is troll mercenaries from a mer camp, if the map has them, or towers, static towers at an expansion. It means an orc with wyverns temporarily rules the roost, and an undead has to turtle down, buckle down, weather the storm, and make fiends, but don't use them and don't lose them. You pre-make fiends, and then once you get to tier 2, boom, 45 seconds later, or 30 seconds later, whatever it is, you've got web, and suddenly, boom, the pendulum shifts. Undead starts webbing and instantly killing all the wyverns. Game over. But Orc had that window. That window isn't going to be there anymore. Why am I talking about Orc? Is it the same for Night Elf? Does Night Elf ever do a 1-base Fairy Dragon Rush, Hippo Rider Rush against an Undead Expo? No. They have other means of playing. Does a human ever Dragon Hulk Rush? No. Not against an Undead Fast Expansion. So this is specifically impactful for Undead with Gargs, which is pretty rare, but it could happen. Or specifically Orc Wyvern attempted counter. It's a counter for Undead against Orc. It's a buff for Undead against Orc. And it's not just for expansion play, but it's mostly for expansion play. Because non-expansion play gets their own tech at a pretty decent time, and they're bridging a tiny gap. We're not talking about a 3-4 minute gap, we're talking about a 1 minute gap or something. So a small buff to 1v1 base, but it's mostly a big buff to an Undead expansion play against Orc. And by the way, not against Orc in general, it's against Orc that doesn't expand. I think this is wrong for that reason. I don't think an Undead should be allowed to counter everything an Orc does to try and stop a fast expansion. If the Orc lets the Undead get Expo and tries to all in with Wyvern, that's a risk. If they miss the window, they lose. If Undead holds the window, they win. But now there is no window, so it's just a free win, I think. Keep in mind that this is specifically 2 versus 1 base. Some people are like, yeah, but Orc can expand faster. Okay, if Orc expands faster, their own expand timing is and their own tech timing is also slower. So then it doesn't matter anymore if web is tier 1 or not. So I don't super support this change. I don't think there's good reasoning for it. Carrion Swarm level 2 damage increased from 125 to 135. I think that's fine. Dreadlord is not that common. He's kind of the worst Undead hero among 6. Pitlord, Dark Ranger, Death Knight, Lich, Cryptlord are all more popular. He doesn't get played a lot. Dreadlord Expo is generally worse than Cryptlord Expo, and Dreadlord as a second is extremely rare. We see some Dreadlord third, in particular against siege tanks and flyings, and Carrion Swarm is particularly good against flying machines and steam tanks, because it hits mechanicals these days. I think it got buffed. It didn't used to, now it does. Dreadlord, Carrion Swarm... Wait, hold on, did it always hit mechanicals? Am I thinking about rockets? Oh yeah, there it is. Can now target mechanical units. 2018, 10 April. That's 7 years ago. Okay, so this mostly affects that. It affects everything a bit. Gargoyle ground base damage reduced by 1. So, a buff for Elf against Undead. It mostly affects Elf. What is Gargoyle base damage to ground? 19. So that's a 6% nerf? That's a Undead Night Elf targeted change. 5%? No, it's 6%, isn't it? I mean, I'm kind of nervous to do this maths on stream. Oh. Is it 5.3? Not 6. Yep, Grubby, you're right. They'll still murder Wisp. Well, Wisp got a huge buff as well recently. Plus 5 health. They used to be 120, now they're 125. So you take this 5, and you take the 1 damage from Gargs. Pretty big change. This barely affects Orc, Gargoyle. This barely affects Orc Undead. It somewhat affects Undead Mirror, but it's Mirror, so it doesn't matter. And it somewhat affects Undead against Human. Sometimes you rush Gargs to break expansions. Usually against Mountain King Fast Expo, Garg becomes an option. And this makes it worse. I think this is not needed, by the way. I don't think this is needed. Spiked Carapace damage return goes from 15, 30, 45 to 25, 50, 75. No. No. This is crazy. This is with the current values. He's not hitting back, right? This is with the current value of level 3 Carapace. And it would go nearly doubled from 45 to 75. So the blade would be almost dead. I feel like that's a good amount of damage for a passive that doesn't cost mana. And also, by the way, gives armor, no? Isn't it 4, 8, 12 armor? I feel like it's quite good. It's a good upgrade. 4, 8, 12. This got buffed recently from 357 in 2023. I feel like it got buffed before that as well, no? Carapace. Nope. I hallucinated that one. 357, 4, 8, 12 is a significant buff though. Plus 1, plus 3, plus 5. Oh, this is Spiked Carapace and Thorns. Well, that's never gonna happen. Wait a minute. Wait, this shows what it would be like, no? Thorns 3. How much is Thorns? This actually already shows what it was gonna be. Thorns is 45. What is 45 plus 45? 90. Oh, okay. Okay. So, yeah. Blades would be this much life. Criplord would be dead. If with the new level 3 Carapace. That's percentage, not flat. 45% on Thorns, not flat. What do you mean? Percentage, not flat. Yeah, I know it's a percentage. 45%, 45% is 90%. This is 90%. The new Criplord will be 75%, which means Blade will be nearly dead. No, these are percentages, guys. I know it's not listed, but they are. Flat 75? This is not flat 75. Guys, it's a percentage. They just didn't list it. Anyways, I think this is a bit too much. 15? Like, does it really need a buff? Criplord is a good hero with a good passive. It's certainly better than Farsight. As a third hero, Criplord with Impale Carapace, very solid as well. I think this is too much. Like, I'm looking for a compromise number in between. Like, what if it's 60, 40, 20? But, like, does it even need to be? Like, how are you gonna kill a Criplord as Orc? That's one blade, right? Like, everything attacking it is gonna go half-life just from attacking it. So what, you're gonna go mass Headhunters? But Impale destroys Headhunters. Ranged unit only. Oh, so I'm massing Headhunters that get blown up by Impale Nova, or I'm massing Wyverns that get blown up by everybody and their grandma. Risky change. Okay, next. Neutral. Level 1 Rain of Fire increased from 700 to 800. The range, I guess. This means that a Pit Lord can cast Rain of Fire from out of the range of Arcane and hit the Arcane Tower, plus repairing peasants. instead of not being able to do that. It's fine. Rain of Fire is his worst spell anyway. It's only part of an Undead third hero cheese rush against human. This will help Undead against human a bit. Happy used to do this in 2018. He would go DK Lich Pitlord, or maybe it was 2010. DK Lich Pitlord, Rain of Fire rush, Mass Destroyers, or Fiend Destroyer, Fiend Statue, and then rush the Mass Towers. Dark Ranger drain life can now transfer life to a friendly unit. Excuse me, what? So the Siphon mana treatment then. Sovietico Sas, come back! I got some double suck for you. Dark Ranger drain life can now transfer life to a friendly unit. Okay, how would you use this? This is insane. Undead, DK Lich, Dreadlord, DK Lich, Dark Ranger. Death Knight drops to 200 life. Liability. Simply life drain the Death Knight. And then coil the Dark Ranger. Don't need any points in Death Pact. However, you would need a point in life drain, of course. It means fewer Black Arrow or fewer Silence. This is particularly good on Undead. And it is like Pala Rifle essentially, but with health. I will point out that Siphon is still a better version of this. Siphon and Holy Light. Because controlling mana in battle is more important than controlling health. It's more valuable. It's 50 mana. Dark Ranger Rifle. Dark Ranger Rifle. Dark Ranger Archers. Archer gets attacked. You life drain it to keep it alive. Kite it backwards, life drain it. Dark Ranger loses health because of it. You focus Dark Ranger, she starts life draining you. But it's 50 mana per proc. And Siphon is 10 or 15. I believe this will never be as problematic as Blood Mage Siphon. It is interesting because it's a new play toy that everybody can use. However, even though it's a neutral Tavern Hero unit, as you guys probably know, all things are not equally used by all races. The greatest users of any Tavern Hero are Night Elf because of Moonwells, and because their own heroes sometimes suck. Like Keeper gets Dispel countered, Bottom is just a damage buff. Only Demon and Warden are really very special. And Night Elf has very bad anti-air heroes outside of Orb of Venom. Like Fan of Knives is not enough. True Shot is not enough. Mana Burn and Hawk is not enough. So they need the Panda, they need the Tinker, they need the Alchemist from the Tavern. Elf are big users of the Tavern. Orc doesn't generally want to give up a hero because Orc heroes are so good. They don't want to give up Orc hero to get a Tavern hero. We can't use Dark Ranger the same way that someone else can. Human sometimes uses Tavern hero second for momentum and because they can buff their expended mana with brilliance. So Archmage Panda, Archmage Alchemist are not uncommon at all. They're quite good. Archmage Beastmaster has been very common in the past. Archmage Firelord. Not a lot of Archmage Pitlord or Archmage Tinker or Archmage Dark Ranger. It's possible, but those are really rare. Now, when it comes to the neutral Undead heroes, Pitlord and Dark Ranger, Undead, unsurprisingly, are the greatest users of it because of coil synergy. Pitlord can be used as a second hero in a meme build where you go Necromancers, just like that Suxor or Roxor guy does against Tyler all the time. And then you've got Pitlord third as part of a real meta build, DK Lich Pitlord, which gets used against Orc. But we're talking about Dark Ranger. DK Lich Dark Ranger gets used in many matchups. It gets used against Elf, Orc, Undead Mirror, and Human. Dark Ranger is a very widespreadly used third hero. However, it's never with life drain. If it will get used now, you will need to give up points in Black Arrow or Silence. That is not a absent sacrifice. It matters. But being able to heal Death Knight against builds that attempt to focus fire the Death Knight without sacrificing coil or unholy aura level is like getting Death Knight Death Pact without needing to invest in it. So you use your third hero to get skill points on your first hero who is higher level. Not bad. I would do that. If I could get another point of crit on my blade by picking a third hero that now doesn't have an ability but gives crit to blade, not bad. I think it's a cool change. I think it's fun. It could be broken as long as they iterate and don't leave us forever. then I'm willing to see where this goes. It sounds fun, and fun is good. This shows vision, and it shows creativity. Only nerfing broken things will leave a game in a more impoverished state than it is, because you keep removing Tome of XP. Okay, let's remove Circlet. Okay, let's remove this. It's too strong. Let's remove this. You keep making the game poorer. Before I go on to creeps, let's look at what has not been changed. We see what we see. We've had an opinion. What is missing? No changes to Huntress, Hippo Riders, and Talents. You could call this a change to Huntress. Maybe this as well. Hippo Riders, not that good, right? Glaive Throwers, Huntress, Druids of the Talent, sometimes. They're good sometimes. For Orc, Demolishers had a previous buff of movement speed. Some other siege units as well. Doctors and Wyverns. Tauren. A lot of lesser used unit for Orc get looked at. Would like to see the same for Elf. I fear that Night Elf looks at this and says, there's not a lot of fun stuff happening for us. Night Elf right now are mostly pigeonholed to play Archer, Dryad, Bear every single game. And they don't get to play with some more creative and fun units, like Mountain Giant, Fairy Dragon, Hippo Rider, Chimera, Huntress, Glaive. So I feel like they're missing some toys, some morale boost. For Undead, Necro are somewhat playable for the first time in forever. Somewhat. And we've seen it some, from Happy even. Banshee are playable. Destroyer. Frostworm, they're in a tricky spot. They kind of suffer from the Witch Doctor problem. Takes too long to get to them. Have counters. They're decent, Frostworms. They're pretty good. We don't see them a lot. They have some counters. Abomination, we see them. We see some Meatwagon. We see Fiend, Garg, Ghoul, Destroyer. I feel like Undead have pretty good variety, where there are niche situations, be it counter or proactiveness, where they can play various things. It does feel like they get nerfed more than buffed for the most part, with this and this. Nah, is that true? Look, if everything goes through, I think Undead are actually getting buffed. If all of this goes through. I've given my opinions. I'm not going to repeat them. I'm now just saying as it is now. Orc buff, Elf buff, mostly, though arguably the two most important ones get nerfed. So you've got a bunch of less important stuff like this. You got 5 buffs, but they're not so important. And 2 of the most crucial things are nerfed. I would say, actually, over the whole, Elf nerf, Human nerf, Orc buff, Undead buff. Over the whole. If we look at ELO rankings, this is always a tricky thing, because ELO is determined not just by how strong everyone is, but to what degree the strongest, most talented players have quit the game, retired or not, or are still playing. So we see Undead, Human, Undead, Orc, Human, Random, mostly Human, Orc, Undead, Night Elf. First Night Elf is at rank 10. Orc, Elf. A lot of Night Elves in top 15 though. Human, Orc, Human, Night Elf. So we have only 2 Undeads. Oh, Labyrinth is higher than Era. Okay, we have 3 Undeads in top 10, which is a statistical over-representation. 2 Orcs. 2 Humans. 1 Night Elf and 2 Randoms. Not that bad in general. When I look at their games, I feel like Happy, Fortitude, and Lynn and Starbuck are perhaps playing the best right now. If that's true, then Lynn is a little low. That would mean Orc is weak. But Focus is higher, so statistically he's doing better. I think Happy and Fortitude deserve their spots, regardless of race. That's how much better they're playing. And the gap isn't that big between rank 12 and rank 3. 25-71, 25-20. So I don't think Undead and Human are strongest per se based on this. I think Happy and Fortitude are the best. The next 10 are really close. Like, they're all really close in MMR. Everyone from 14 to 3 is really close in MMR. in terms of elo ranking on this website anyway. So not that bad, pretty good representation from all races. Yeah, cool, okay. Well, I think more fun toys for Night Elf would be cool. Moving on. Poison Treants no longer have Entangle, Spitting Spider armor type, Giant Spider HP, Satyr Hellcaller level. Yeah, this is all not that important. I mean, you should know if you're a pro. I should read these, but it's like, which creeps have Blizzard? Not on any of the maps that I play on right now. Parasite. I know roughly what it does, but not any of the maps I play on. So yeah. You'll get used to it eventually, you know what I mean? Right, cool. I think it's a pretty cool, interesting, right? Interesting set of changes. I would say mostly good, imaginative and creative. Attempting to uplift some lesser used units, like Sorceress and Tauren and Witch Doctor, Mountain Giant. Again, not going to repeat my thoughts on every single change, but generally I like the patch. It was cool. Let's try some of them out on live server. Pretty quick review of the patch too, right? It was about 2 hours. Thought it would take longer.